studio in April, I think it was April 29th of 2018. He wrote a book, and we had him in studio, if I'm not mistaken. And the book was listen, it was a very detailed book. He wrote it with somebody else, and he had a lot of specifics about his career and everything else. And he did come in studio for a half hour. Never forget it. It was the great Elgin Baylor. Again, I saw him at the very end of his career. So for me, it is a little weird. I can't sit there and give you too much rhythm on him based on where I was, in 1964. I'm not watching Elgin Baylor play. Here's Evan in North Arlington, Illinois, April 9th, 2018. Evan, say hello. What's going on today, pal? What do you have? Go ahead.
What's going on, Chris? It's North Arlington, New Jersey, but that's okay.
North Arlington, New Jersey. I apologize. Okay. Good. What's up
No
today?
worries, Chris. I'm a Fairweather college basketball fan. Rockland, Westchester County, that's where I grew up. Anyway, every Saturday they would have Ohio State on, Wisconsin, all these Big Ten teams, and then they just, a big dud in this tournament, which was just kind of disappointing because you pick your bracket on some of these teams that you see, but you wonder why they, had all those teams playing like every
Well,
Saturday.
they like the conference. It's Middle America. You get Chicago watching. You get Detroit watching. You get those sort of cities. Those are big cities.
Right.
If you can light up Middle America TV-wise, you're in good shape. That's why Maryland went there. That's why Rutgers went there. There's a lot of money out of that Big Ten. The football is huge. And you're right. I mean, I think you get a little swayed because you're watching them play so much. You'd think maybe they're a little overrated. CBS goes there for the conference tournament. Nance is sitting there for 5 days. And I think because of that, I think you have a tendency to think a little too much about how good they are. And then we all write them in our brackets. I fell in love with Illinois. That killed me. And Illinois loses in the second round. So there you go. That's what happens. It's a mess.
I do think there is one team, though. I do think that if I was going to call a few weeks ago, I do think Michigan, though, does have a good chance to going to the Final Four or even, being in that champampionship game. So we'll see. But it's just kind of disappointing that.
Yeah,
they kind of
listen, Evan, with Michigan has got a couple of injuries. Everybody's been picked off out of the Big Ten. Maybe they'll be their sole survivor. Good call. Well done there. Milton, Madison, Wisconsin. And he has a chance to say hello, and he joins us right now here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Milt, good afternoon. How are you today, pal? What do you have, Milt? Fire away.
Hey, I'm great. I'm great, Doggy. It's really good to talk to you. Really enjoy your show. You have a great perspective on sports and life in general. So my hat is off to you. You make my afternoons driving around the cheese land, going right through Madison right now.
Oh, are you really?
And, Dog,
okay.
if you haven't, I'm on the Beltline there. You know that. If you haven't made it down to the Parthenon when you go visit your son, make sure you get there for a gyro. Parthenon on State Street. I'm sure your boy's been there already.
Parthenon on State Street. He loves Wisconsin. I spoke to him all weekend. The weather's been a little better. He's completely into it. He was into the basketball those 2 days. So, he's completely wrapped up in it. And, Wisconsin, I actually thought had a decent couple games. They played great against North Carolina. And Wisconsin, yesterday was competitive. I mean, they made Baylor work. They made Baylor pay attention for 40 minutes. Wisconsin, I thought actually they had a very uneven regular season where they lost a lot of teams, a lot of close games to a lot of teams that never kind of broke through. But they actually had a decent couple of games. So there you go. Go ahead. What's on your mind today?
I want to talk about Crudwig. I haven't seen an all-around individual performance in the tournament, and I haven't seen all the games since 2005, but since Mateen Cleaves in the championship game against Florida. I thought I was watching Kevin McHale in the low post against Illinois, and then Magic playing the high post. The way he was threading the needle on those bounce passes, those touch passes, catch touch pass with the hoop, the quick hands, unbelievable. Where did this guy come from? And I can see why he won the Larry Bird Award out of the Missouri Valley Conference. I just like to hear your thoughts.
He reminds me, and he doesn't shoot the ball like Jokic does of Denver, but I don't know, it kind of reminds me a little of him. I know that they play a little differently, but they're big lumbering guys. They got to both have good core, Milt. They both have excellent feel of the game. They both can pass the ball pretty well. They don't. He reminds me. Now, Jokic is, he's a freak. I mean, his body and his shooting abilities and everything else. But Wenzel loved him the other day. He played great a couple years ago. And everything revolves around him. I'm in completely agreement. Played a hell of a ball game yesterday, that Krutwig. And again, he reminds me a little bit of Jokic. I know that sounds crazy because of Jokic's three-point ability, but his big lumbering body reminds me a little bit of him. Brad in New York, he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Brad, good afternoon. Your turn. How are you today, pal? What do you have? Brad.
Hey, Chris. You had a caller, and I'm not here to knock this guy, but you had a caller, I think it was Thursday late in your show, said the Pac-12 won't win one game. He said they are a disaster. They're not going to win this UCLA-Michigan game. And it turns out, it's funny, they've actually won every game. They've been by far the most impressive conference, and not only just winning games, but dominating games. They have been unbelievable in this tournament. And another thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of just the announcing, one thing that college basketball really has going for itself is, to me, and I wanted your opinion on this, they have the best in terms of the Grant Hill, and I know they're not together right now, but the Grant Hill Raftery Nance combination, to me, that's better than any combination of announcers in any sport. I mean, is there anything better that you could think of in terms of the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball that even comes close to that?
No, they are very. I don't think I think Raph is great and Nance is great. I don't know. I don't know if I think Hill is great. I think Hill is. Listen. I think Hill is pretty good, but I don't think he's great. Raph's
great. Nice compliment.
Yeah, it's a nice compliment.
It's a very nice compliment.
It's a good team. I think the Breen, Mark Jackson, Van Gundy team is good in the NBA because Jackson and Van Gundy play off each other very, very well. So I think that's a pretty good team. The thing that you like especially is that Nance does not have a problem of basically going out there and, sitting back and allowing those two to shine, which is what you like because Nance allows them to be, broadcasters, allows them to be the star. And I think it's an excellent team. Good call, Brad. I'm not going to break down. I'm not going to deny that at all. I think it's a very, very good team. So I'm with you on that, 100%. It's a very, very good team. I don't know if it's the best I've ever heard. It's not Emberg, Packer, and McGuire. Let's not go that crazy. But I do think it's a very, very good team. Let's continue and say hello to, let's see, Jason in Tampa says hello, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jay, good afternoon. How are you today, pal? What do you have? Jay.
Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, Jay.
Yep, this Gonzaga-Oklahoma game getting a little more interesting here.
Gonzaga's going to win. Gonzaga's going to win here. They're up by 12 with 6 minutes. They're going to hold on. They're going to win the game. But, Oklahoma's played pretty well. It's a pretty good tournament for Oklahoma. They beat Missouri, and they have not been embarrassed against maybe the best team in the country. So from that standpoint, you got to be impressed there, too. Go ahead.
All right, one TV point and one Indiana point. One, if Indiana isn't at Porter Moser's door the day they get eliminated and make him the head coach, they're crazy. He'd be a good fit in Bloomington.
No argument. I don't know if he'd take the job. And I don't know what Indiana. I don't know. And I don't know. He's turned down those jobs before. He turned down St. John's. I don't know if a big team really offered him anything on that level. But you are 100% right. That is as good a job as you can have. You would think that Indiana would be running to get him. You would think. So from that standpoint, that would be an opportunity for him. I don't have the answer for you on that, Jay. But Indiana would do a lot worse. You're 1,000% right. Go ahead. What else?
Yep. Also, TV-wise, you made a great point. Illinois, who really was disadvantaged by Loyola getting underseeded because first of all, if you don't think it wasn't intentional for Loyola in Illinois to be in the same bracket, even as a 1-8 matchup for TV yesterday, you're crazy. There's no doubt they wanted that big boy against the stepbrother matchup in round 2, Loyola and Illinois.
I do think there's something to that. I think that was a very bad draw for Illinois. No excuses. But Loyola was not an 8th seed. That was a very, very bad draw for Illinois. No question about it. Very, very bad draw. We're with you on that. Go ahead.
Yep, one more point. Oral Roberts, Florida. Did you see with about 2.5 minutes left in the game, Oral Roberts was down 1 point, like 74-73, whatever it was. They fouled on defense intentionally a 50% free throw shooter, kind of like Jimmy V did against Houston back in the day, sent them to the line 1-1, and obviously the kid missed the free throw for Florida. Oral Roberts went down, made a three, didn't have to foul at the time, could have played defense. A great coaching decision by that guy to intentionally put the guy at the line who was about a 45% free throw shooter. Just subtle little coaching move is what really differentiates some of these coaches. A horrific job by Mike White in Florida yesterday late.
That was a bad loss for them, too. Good call, Jay. Those two defeats for Florida, losing, as you said, by I think they were up 11 at one point. That was horrendous. And the Rutgers game, I still can't figure out how they lost. That Rutgers loss is the worst loss I have seen for a college team in a long, long time. That was the Rutgers loss is mind-boggling to me. I do not know how they lost that game. I need 16 more points for the over in this Gonzaga game. Let's see if I get it. 3:38 to go. Steve Torrey is in the house today. And, Steve, you deserve first off, you had Texas. I told you never to take Texas, and you had Texas in your championship game. And I must have told you for years never to touch them, and you grab them to go far. I did not understand that. Number two, I told you about the Big Ten, never trust them, and they all fell apart. Ohio State fell apart. Purdue fell apart. Illinois fell apart. Rutgers fell apart. Michigan State fell apart. Unless you want to rest your hat on Maryland, they all fell apart. Not one of your better seasons as far as predicting the NCAA tournament pool. And again, the Texas pick might be one of the worst picks when you were warned. One of the worst picks ever. And you've had a lot of bad ones, but that was a horrendous pick. Horrendous. I think you'd agree.
Well, yeah. Now since they lost in the first round to Abilene Christian, I have to agree. I actually didn't have them in the final. I had them in the Final Four. Yeah, look, I've been terrible. The Big Ten, though, yeah, you're right. You can't defend it. I'm particularly shocked, obviously, about Illinois. I thought it would be a tough game. Never thought they'd lose. Obviously, very surprised with Ohio State and Purdue getting taken out early. Not surprised at all about Iowa, at all. I mean, you and I talked about that. And I thought Wisconsin represented themselves pretty well, actually. I thought that was their ceiling.
I said that.
Yeah,
I'll give you, but Steve, you can't. Purdue lost to North Texas, who then got destroyed by Villanova. Ohio State lost to Oral Roberts, didn't show up on overtime, man, bad possessions. And Illinois didn't show up at all for 40 minutes yesterday against that's a 4-seed, a 2-seed, and a 1-seed. You can't. Nobody wants to hear about Wisconsin. You can't defend that. Am I right or wrong?
I think I said right before I talked about Wisconsin that you can't defend it. So I'm not disagreeing with you at all. You are 100% correct. I don't know what else you want me to say. They've been awful. And now they have two chances to get into the Sweet 16. And I don't think Maryland's beaten Alabama. And, Michigan's going to have their hands full tonight. So it's conceivable that they could be shut out of the Sweet 16. It really is. I mean, I think Michigan will figure out a way. I think Maryland will play hard, but I expect Alabama to play much better than they did against Iona.
I think Alabama will win. I think Michigan will beat LSU. I agree with you on that, 100%. So I think you'll get one in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
But Steve,
maybe.
you were waxing poetic about the Big Ten all year.
Yes, I was. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but absolutely right. And it didn't work out. And they haven't won a championship since Michigan State won with Mateen Cleaves. So think about that for a second.
They haven't won a championship. I was trying to figure out the last time they won it. They haven't won a championship in 20 years. Wow.
No. Yeah. So Chris, you're 100% right. They got work to do. Meanwhile, you got the Pac-12 that can't lose. It's crazy.
What is your explanation? That's another league that you follow because of Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have seen Oregon State do this. Oregon's always dangerous, so you never know with them. You couldn't have seen Oregon State make this run. None of us saw UCLA make this run. What is your explanation for that conference so far?
Yeah, well, it's weird. I did not think UCLA. I thought UCLA would lose to Michigan State. But think about that. That sort of like changed the fortunes, right? It sort of got them off and running because they were dead, down 5 with 90 seconds left in regulation. They figure out how to get a win. And now that the conference is rolling, I actually thought that USC and Oregon could make the Sweet 16. I did. I think I picked both of them. I know my picks have been terrible, but I thought they both could have pretty good runs here. And Colorado, I'm naturally rooting for. And I thought that they could beat Georgetown. I think tonight will be a really hard game against Florida State. It's winnable, but I think it'll be hard.
Hard game.
And Oregon State,
the thing that worries me about Colorado tonight, if I was you, about Colorado, is they made so many threes against Georgetown. You can't expect them to shoot that well again.
No,
Correct?
naturally. Yeah, that's definitely one big concern. And also, Florida State's got length. And, they love to turn you over and then turn those turnovers into points. That's what they kind of do. They got a lot of size, which is, size and length is what you'd be concerned about. But they have been sort of off these last few weeks. They do turn the ball over a lot. But they're good. You used to think about Leonard Hamilton's team. It's all defense. They could score. They're a good 3-point shooting team. I think they'll have the ACC in 3-point shooting this year. They're good. So that's a hard game. But yeah, Oregon State. How could you see that coming? They kind of fumbled all year, and then they got hot down the stretch, and they won the Pac-12 tournament, and they kept it going. So they had a good game plan yesterday, and Ethan Thompson's a very good player. And they had a transfer from Oklahoma State who was lighting them up last night. Sort of got some revenge back. So. Yeah, it's crazy. But this
and how about Rutgers? And how about Rutgers
gosh.
losing the way they lost?
That was a rough
one. If you're Peichel, you got to be sick if you're Peichel losing that game the way you lost that game.
Yeah, that is about as bad a loss you could have. And think about it. If you watch that game, so there was Miles Johnson had a alley-oop dunk that he failed to finish.
That's a good point. Yep.
Nobody was near him. It just popped out. That puts them up 10. Instead, in transition. Houston hits a 3, they cut it to 5, and that changed the momentum completely. And the thing about Houston is, they succeed because of their flaws. They don't shoot well, and their offensive rebounding so good that's how they score. And and they missed so many free throws, and Rutgers still couldn't take advantage. And Rutgers kind of same with Florida. It was very similar. Both Peichel and White decided to sort of take the air out a little bit and kill some clock. And I think it hurt him in both instances. Florida had 2 baskets, Chris, in the last 9.5 minutes of that game against Oral Roberts. And there was a long stretch where Oral Roberts could not get stops. You and I were watching it because we bet Oral Roberts yesterday, but they couldn't get stops. And all of a sudden, it started turning. Crazy. This event it's been nuts this year. Absolutely nuts.
Do you think that this has been a major issue with the fans not being there? You having a problem with that or no?
Look, the fact you can at least feel a little bit of an energy, which you didn't all year.
A little more so than before. I agree
right. Now,
with that,
certainly,
100%.
You'd want – but again, and under normal circumstances, you wouldn't be playing in Hinkle Fieldhouse. You got to remember that too. So, it'd be different venues. But, yeah, at least you can feel some energy, which is kind of nice. But, it's lacking. It's unfortunate. But it hasn't bothered me. Not at all.
It has not. But, yeah, it bothered me a little bit. There's no way. It's bothered me a little bit. But I have to admit, I've been, the late times bother me too. It's really the lateness of the. I can't. Listen, tonight that game is going to start at 10 after 10 at night. That's going to be a late ball game tonight.
Yeah, USC Kansas will be really late. Yep. And same last night with Oklahoma State and Oregon State. But look, the games have been good. Obviously you've had some blowouts like Villanova and North Texas, but most of the games yesterday were competitive. The Texas Tech Arkansas game I thought was really good.
Very good game.
Syracuse West Virginia was really good in the second half.
Very good game. I thought the Texas Tech game against Arkansas was an excellent game. The Syracuse game, Steve, I never thought, outside of that one little moment, I never thought that West Virginia was going to win. Texas Tech and Arkansas went back and forth a little bit. That was a little
but still, Syracuse did have to respond a couple of times. West
they
Virginia
had to respond.
Yeah, and they did. And, Buddy Boeheim
Texas
played
Tech,
great.
and if he sure did. And that McClure makes those couple of free throws there. He missed the 1-and-1. That was a huge miss.
Yep.
They would have. Texas Tech probably would have won a game. He's an 80-something first-time free throw shooter.
Yeah, McClung. Yeah, he missed a free throw, and they missed 2 makeable layups there at the in the last 45 seconds. So that was a tough one. Texas Tech is very well coached. Good game, good game.
Do you want? Is Indiana going to make a run at Beard or Mosier?
I don't know about most. I know that Beard, from what I heard, there's definitely some interest there. I don't know about Porter Moser. Because a lot of people seem to think the better fit might be Marquette. I know you're down on the program, and I understand that, but from his point of view, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And they, from what I gather too, he gets paid pretty well there. I'm sure if Indiana comes calling,
Indiana's going to pay him.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is. I've heard Thad Matta now. That was kind of the hot rumor over the weekend. Which
Where is Matta? Where is Matta?
He's
right
not
now?
coaching at all now. He's been out of it. He had to step aside for some health reasons, but that was kind of the word this weekend that they had some interest in him too. So who knows?
I would not hire Matta.
No, I wouldn't either. That wouldn't do it for me. Wouldn't move them.
To me, you gotta pick up the phone and you gotta call Mosier. How do you not do that? This guy's a hell of a coach, Steve. How do you not pick up the phone and call him?
Yeah,
explain that for me.
I'm sure there'll be some interest. There's no doubt about it. There was. Remember, Moser was at Arkansas, Little Rock. Then he went to Illinois State, never did a thing there, and was out of coaching for a while before he got the job at Loyola. So he's had, he hasn't exactly been, Dean Smith his whole life. But you cannot dispute what he's done with this team. He knows how to recruit. He gets the right people for his system, and boy, they executed things really well. I mean, the defense was really a clinic. I mean, they're great on switches. They're great in transition. I was a little surprised, though. I love Brad Underwood. I didn't see any of this. Cameron Krutwick, they didn't do anything to adjust to him. I mean, they basically didn't guard him. They let him do whatever the hell he wanted. I mean, I was shocked.
Terrible. I thought the same thing you did. I thought it was a very, very poor performance from Underwood's point. That is you have to do a better job than that. I thought he coached a horrific game. They never did anything. I mean, it was just it was just terrible.
Think about it, Chris. It's no fluke. Loyola was in control the entire way. I mean, they got it to 5? I think that was the closest they got it to, and you never really felt like they were going to kind of make a big dent into it. Every time every time they made a little bit of a charge, Loyola had an answer, and they did it with ease. It was really mind-boggling. I was shocked.
They also were tired, Illinois. They're up, and that big kid was tired. Just a
Coburn,
very, very bad performance. It goes to show you, you shouldn't I don't think you should put that much effort in these conference tournaments if you're a team like Illinois. They busted their rear end and win all those games in a conference tournament, and they had nothing left a week later.
Yeah, but then, you look at Oregon State. They played 4 games in 4 days, and they're in the Sweet 16. So,
Oregon State, though, needed to win the tournament to get in.
I know.
Illinois did not.
But you can't tell your kids, let's not try to win a Big Ten championship. I know what you're saying. I've seen both examples where it's like these teams get worn out a little bit. Like we've seen a couple of times. I remember Seton Hall that year. They won the Big East tournament, and they beat Villanova, and you saw how much they had to put into it. And then they sent him to Denver to play on a Thursday in the altitude. And it was like,
and they got killed.
You could see it coming. It's weird. But I don't know. This event is crazy. I mean, like if you look at the Illinois and Loyola of Chicago, if they were going to play in a series now, Illinois would be like, you know what? All right, we didn't take them seriously. And they'd get back to basics. The series would be over, right? I mean, so that's why this event in so many ways is fantastic, in that regard.
All right, I just got a 3. I need one more basket in the Oklahoma game to get the over to get an over. There's a foul. Are they over the limit?
How much time do you have?
Minute 6.
Yeah, you should be all right. I tell you, I should have jumped on the over in the Iowa game, boy. Because
I won that in 5 minutes.
There was. Iowa. There was just guarding just wasn't even a thought. I mean, it was ridiculous, and that's there were so many easy baskets in the second half. They looked completely shot. No, body language was terrible. They basically gave up. I feel bad for Garza because that guy worked his ass off. He's a good kid.
That was a bad performance by Iowa too. Oregon took the heart out from them. They had a 10-point lead at the half, and they took the heart away from Iowa today. Yep. They took their will away, which is a bad sign. Good job, Steve. Well done today.
Okay, buddy. See you later.
All right, very good, Tori. It's 6. We'll take a timeout. We continue. We're on Mad Dog Unleashed.